Repeat that. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryang Karavavahai Sahaviryang Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. All together, Om. I promised you that we would learn apavitra pavitrova. So hopefully you receive that in the file grouping from Patty today. Taiwanese literal translation is, in whatever condition a man is, whether pure or impure, he becomes purified both externally and internally when he turns his mind to Vishnu, the lotus-eyed. And then I've offered a word-by-word translation for you, and I'm hoping it's accurate. And then at the end, I copied out part of a paragraph that precedes the verse that he presents. So these are his Taiwanese words. I thought they were interesting and helpful. The word purification must be considered in a larger sense, which includes the process of sensitization, harmonization, and magnetization. The vehicles are bodies with our organs of action and perception, everything about our body. The vehicles are brought to attention, as it were, and made ready and alert. First, to invoke the higher powers in the proper spirit of reverence and self-surrender, and then to receive without any resistance the forces which flow into the vehicles in response to the invocation. I thought that sounded pretty nice. So here we go with the chant itself. And again, this is in the meter called Anushtub, 8 syllables per line. And any melody can be applied as long as the pronunciation is correct. Om Apavitra Pavitrova Sarvavastangatopiva Yasmaret Pundarikaksham Sabahya Bhyantarashuchihi. So now we'll do some call and response. I'll break down the words. Om Apavitraha. So by itself, That's how we pronounce that last syllable. Apavitraha pavitrova pavitrova sarvavastham sarvavastham gatopiva gatopiva. So now listen for the changes, because there are those sandhis, those changes on account of the blending necessary at the ends of some words, beginning, transcending into the beginning of the next word. Apavitra, pavitrova. So if you recall from last week, whenever visarga precedes a pa, then we want to let the breath out as though we were blowing a feather. So it's apavitra, pavitrova, apavitra, pavitrova. You might not hear it, but you might hear yourself doing it. The whole idea is that visarga, instead of staying in the throat, as in apavitraha, that's a throat, we are anticipating the pa of pavitro. So we let that visarga be at the lips. Apavitra, pavitro. And then moving on, pavitrova. So that's a long ah. And then the next change will be after sarvavastham. Vastham is followed by ga, gato. So that, which is at the lips when we pronounce it by itself, now that we tack on gato, everyone say ga and place your hand at your throat and feel the vibration. Ga, 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 ga. So that sound initiates in the throat. Therefore, the preceding sound, the that nasal sound will also be in the throat. Then it changes to sarvavastham gatopiva. Do that with me. Sarvavastham gato. Sarvavastham gatopiva. Is that good with everyone? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, good. So now let's do the whole line. Om apavitra pavitrova sarvavastham gatopiva. Let's repeat the line. Apavitra pavitrova sarvavastham gatopiva. On to the second line. Yah. Yah. So everyone say that. Yah. Now chant. Smaret. Now, I've heard it two ways. Yah, smaret. But sometimes we change that aha to another sa, an S sound, so that it's like a double S coming out, and we'll end up with yasmaret. Try that. Yasmaret. So the visarga is now deferring to the sa, that sibilant. Let's stick with that And if you need to take a pencil and cross out the H with a dot and write a little S instead to remind yourself, you can go ahead and do that. Although my yoga teacher, my Sanskrit teacher, Dr. Sharma, used to say, no heaven will fall down if we end up with yaha smaret, because the intentions are always good and pure. But anyway, but that's just to avoid a question from you. Why are you doing it this way? Okay. Yasmaret pundarikaksham. Yasmaret pundarikaksham. Pundarikaksham. That's a delicious shaping of the mouth in there. Just say it for a moment. Pundarikaksham. Pundarikaksham. Now I take a breath after that. So therefore the sham will remain sham, because then I take a breath. Sabahya bhyantarashuchihi. There again at the end. So let's move to the end of the line there. Bhyantare, abhyantaraha shuchi. We have that sibilant, another sibilant at the soft palate, sha, as in isha. So why not lop off that visarga there, raha, and change it to rashuchihi. So we end up with abhyantarashuchihi. So the only thing to remember is that we have to intend to have a double sh sound. Just like earlier in the line, there would be a double sa sound, just by extending the length of time. Sabahya bhyantarashuchihi. Do that with me, twice through. Sabahya bhyantarashuchihi. Sabahya bhyantarashuchihi. Put the whole line together and Yasmaret pundarikaksham. Sabahya bhyantarashuchihi. Yasmaret pundarikaksham. Sabahya bhyantarashuchihi. So if you wanted to do that entire last line, which is a combination of two in one breath, then pundarikakshansa, that would be the change. So quickly it would be Yasmaret pundarikakshan sabahya bhyantarashuchihi. I simply recommend you take a large mahaprana at the beginning of the line. Do you want to try that? just for fun? Okay, here we go. Yasmaret pundarikakshan sabahya bhyantarashuchihi. I barely got through in one breath. How did you all do with the breath? Did you get through all right? Yeah. Metza. Pranayama practice would be a good idea. Okay. Okay, are we ready to put everything together? Okay. And remember, all mistakes are forgiven. So, just get the rhythm of it. So we'll chant through the entire verse twice through. Okay. And chant along with me from the beginning or wherever you like. Om Apavitra Pavitra va sarvavasthangatopi va yasmaret pundarikaksham sabhahyabhyantara shuchihi. My mistakes. Apavitra pavitro va sarvavasthangatopi va yasmaret pundarikaksham sabhahyabhyantara shuchihi. Unmute yourselves and let me know if you have any questions, comments, a desire to chant it for us.
I'm a bit out of breath by the end of that.
Me too.
Okay. It was just a bit like doing pranayama. I was like, wow, that's a bit much.
Yeah. And chanting is a form of pranayama. It is. So the more we learn, running out of breath has always been my largest problem, my biggest obstacle to overcome. All I can offer at the moment until I've learned a few more things is to make sure you take a deep breath and allow that breath to be taken from the base of your abdomen. Apavitra pavitrova. And also, it's hard in the beginning because we need to go slowly to get all of the shaping going on. The tongue is learning this dance and it's going slowly. It needs to go slowly. Once the tongue has mastered these shapings, then we can go more quickly, and then breath becomes less of a problem. And I would say now, while we're learning it, we can take breaths wherever we want, wherever we need to. There are rules about that as well, but in the beginning, feel free to take a breath whenever you need. Thank you for mentioning that, Andy. That's a good point. And Elizabeth, do you have any pointers, because you've been studying Vedic chant too, about the breath?
Well, I think that what both Edwina and Sonia have said in the beginning, you just said it. What was most helpful was that to take a breath when you need to take a breath, and gradually, as you become more comfortable with what it is that we're chanting, then it's also it becomes a little bit easier, and to have little longer segments.
Yeah, thank you for that. And what I've noticed in my own practice of chanting is that when familiarity is there, when I become more and more familiar with the chant, then the effort is only on the chanting. Right now you're learning something, so your brain is working, more parts of you are working. Once we've learned the dance that this tongue is doing, then the brain doesn't have to work, and it's just a matter of the tongue practice doing what it is, and then refinement can come. Would you like to do that again, or would you like to put that aside and move on to Bhagavad Gita?
Maybe we could chant it just one more time and then move on.
Okay, all right. Is that good with everyone? Okay. Om Apavitra pavitro va sarvavasthangatopi va yasmaret pundarikaksham sabhahyabhyantara shuchihi. Oh, one more time. Apavitra pavitro trova sarvavasthangato piva yasmaret pundarikaksham sabahya-bhyantara-shuchihi. Is it a little more under your skin? Good. Oh, you know what? We will get to the Bhagavad Gita, but it's the month of October, and we have 2 full moons in the month of October. So this other chant, oh, what did I do with it? I just had it in front of me. I don't know. Ah, here it is. The Chandra Namaskritya Mantraha. We're not going to belabor it today, but I think for the today and through October, we'll we'll just chant it. Okay, so it's if you look on your handout, you'll see it has various components. I will chant the Samhita for you, and then I'll move on into the pada, and then we will do call and response in the pada. Okay, so here we go. Oshadhaya samvadante somena saharagya. So in case you already are familiar with it, we're going to do it again. Om Oshadhaya samvadante somena saharagya. If you noticed, I took a breath in the middle of ragya, which is a big no-no. You put it in the middle of a word, but I ran out of breath. So, mea culpa. Here's the pada. The pada is simply the recitation of each word on its own. So I will chant it and you will repeat. Okay. Om Oshadhayaha. Om Oshadhayaha. Samiti. Samiti Vadante Vadante Somena Somena Saha Saha Ragyeti Ragya Ragyeti Ragya. So now without the repeat, let's do this together. We'll go slowly, but there's going to be no repeat. Om Oshadhayaha Samiti Vadante Somena Saha Ragyeti Ragya. So now we'll go back to the Samhita, and that's all we'll tackle today. And then next week we'll work with more of the rest. So we'll do it twice through. Om Oshadhaya Samvadante Somena Saha Rajna Oshadhaya Samvadante Somena Sahara Nya. Okay, so before we leave it, are there any requests, questions? You can unmute yourself if there is a question. The translation is something like this. Oshadhaya. Oshadhaya, those are the herbs, the plants. Some is some, sameness. Vadante, we vadanti, vadati. The speech, we proclaim for the herbs, or from the herbs, the soma. So by the soma, we are chanting for the herbs, saha, somena saha, by the herbs, or by the herbs. The king, Rajna. So we are honoring the king who is in this chant, the moon. So here, oftentimes the moon is depicted as feminine, but in this chant, the moon is masculine. So it is thanks to the moon that we are able to have the wonderful soma, which is the juice from the herbs and the plants. And the moon is king. Rajnyeti Rajnya. That's like a really emphasizing the fact that indeed that king is the king. Rajnyeti Rajnya.
Leslie, I'm a little dense today. Could you repeat why one version has compound Sanskrit words and the other version, the words are broken apart?
Well, the Samhita is the actual chant. And in order to chant it properly, we have to combine these sounds, or we have to make some changes in the sound, the sandhi. But in order to learn, we break it down into, separate words so that we know what the words are.
Okay.
So Oshadhayaha is one word. Actually, sam iti, there are actually two words in there, sam and iti, but for some reason they're put together here. And all the other words are by themselves. Because when we say the word out loud, that's well and good. But when combined with other words, all these changes may occur at the ends of words so that they combine well. So in other words, at the beginning of the krama, if you'll all look down to krama, we have Oshadhayasam. Now, we can separate those two words, but then it's not Oshadhayasam, it would be Oshadhayaha sam. However, for the purpose of allowing the sounds to flow with elegance and smoothness out of the mouth, there are these changes that take place, the sandhi, always. And that's what makes Sanskrit interesting, to be sure. I always think it's a nice idea to play detective when we're learning Sanskrit. Find out what the words actually are and where they actually end and where the next word begins. Because sometimes it's not so easy. At the bottom line in krama, Rajnyeti, there's another change. Originally, it's Rajnya iti Rajnya, but followed by I, Ragnya iti, ragnya iti, ragnya iti, ragyai iti, ragyeti. So the ah followed by the I will change to a, I, a. So it becomes that diphthong, that it changes to a what we call a complex vowel, if you will. Simple vowel being an or an ah, e, but a is a combination of or ah followed by e. A. Everyone just say that with me. E, a. E, a. And then we can broaden the mouth. We can widen with vridhi and say e, a. That would be I, ragnya, e. But here it stays a. Never mind. A is the rule. So otherwise we wouldn't understand what ragyeti is, because that's not a word. It's two words combined. Is that making any sense to you, Andy?
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at the second part as more of a learning tool to learn the canon in its entirety.
Yeah. We'll get back to it. We'll do more next week. Bhagavad Gita. Last week we got through verse number 7, didn't we? First of all, you can unmute yourselves. Is there any, instead of my dictating that we're going to repeat anything we already did, I'd like you to ask me, if you would like, to repeat any of the verses that we've covered so far. Oh, sorry, no, we started at 11 and we went through 15. That's what we did. Would you like to just continue with 16? I think that's where we were.
What?
I need to mark with a pencil where we end up, because then I forget. So verse 16 then, is that a good idea?
Okay.
Thumbs up, thumbs in. Sounds good. Okay. Excuse me. Na sato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubhayorapi drishtontas tvanayostattvadarshibihi. Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubhayorapi drishtontas tvanayostattvadarshibihi. And actually, the end of the third line, antaha, that originally was visarga, the N-T-A-H with a dot under it. And if we take a breath there, it can stay like that. So in other words, it can be ubhayorapi drishtontaha tvanayostattvadarshibihi. But the S is there in case we want to run it all in one breath. Ubhayorapi drishtontas tvanayostattvadarshibihi. Is that making sense to you? Is that good?
I have a question, Leslie.
Yes.
So at the end of the last line, why is the last syllable he instead of ha?
The last,
He. he, like in the end of the second line, sataha. Maybe I'm not can you just do the last line again? Maybe I'm overthinking something.
You mean, why is it I instead of ah?
Yeah. Is there an extra eh?
Because-
He, it sounds like he, right?
Yeah,
that right?
it will come out sounding a little like that. Because that's the word. Tattva darashibhir. Darashibhi.
He.
Darashibhi. Darashibhi. It takes the form of the subject. Darashibhi. Ayaha. Okay. Okay, so the last line, here I'll go. Tvanayos tattva darashibhi. Bihi. It's okay to laugh. We can. Yeah, it's just that that noun ends in the I. So then in the subject form, it's bihi. Bihir. Darshi bihi. Actually, it's not subject, it's another case, but that's what it is.
I'll take it.
Okay. I'm going to quickly go to the translation because that may help. My poor broken book. Has anyone read a translation that you particularly like? Or just like,
I like, I think it's Graham Schwig. Is it here? Oh, it's downstairs.
yes, he's
I think it's
wonderful.
Graham Schwig, yeah.
Would you read it to us?
Oh, I have
Harmony?
to go get it. You
Oh,
have to
okay.
go.
All right, well, that's, yeah, you can either go get it, but if it takes you away too far, that's all right. Darashibhi, Darashibhis. It's the instrumental form. So by means of the Darshibhis, by the seers, by the perceivers, by the discerners, by the knowers. And, you know, learning the basics of Sanskrit grammar would teach us the ihi. It's a plural instrumental form ending. Darshibhi. So it means by the seers. So according to Sargent, that verse is translated, it is found that the unreal has no being. It is found that there is no non-being of the real. The certainty of both these propositions is indeed surely seen by the perceivers of truth, by the knowers, by the perceivers of truth. Asataha, the non-existence of the non-real. Na bhavo, the na is, there's a negation there. Na abhavaha, not being, not existing. So there we have bhu, bhavaha, the existing. So not existing. Vidyate, vidyate, it is found. There is found, not in the not existent, there is found the real. The real is not found in the non-existent. Ubhayor, both, of both, surely perceived the certainty. So api, indeed, surely, drishtaha, ubhayor api drishtontaha. Antaha is the certainty, the conclusion. And drishtaha, that which is seen or perceived. Tvanayor tattvadarshibhihi, of these two by the truth perceivers. I mean, you know, when we break it down, it gets pretty confusing. But is there anything you'd like to know about the meaning or those sounds before we just keep chanting it?
Do you know, is there a simple way you could say what the meaning is of this?
Well, Sargent has, again, it is found that it is found that the unreal has no being. I guess he could have said it is found that the unreal doesn't really exist.
Okay.
it is found that there is no non-being of the real. So that means that that the real doesn't not exist. That which is real really does exist. The certainty of both these propositions is indeed surely seen by the perceivers of truth. And perhaps you've all come across in your studies or your work with masters that term neiti, which is really na iti. And there you have that change, that sandhi. Na iti will sandhiize into neiti. Na meaning not, and this, not thus, neiti. And we're taught, it's a tricky idea of, I don't know, seeing the unreal or not seeing, because we have only we have only our bodies, our senses of perception, etc., our organs of action to work with. And they have to be seen as real. But according to the teachings, in the end, it's the soul that is embodied by all that we can see, embodied by what becomes our personalities. My apologies, I may have butchered this whole thing. If anyone else has another translation handy, I'm just looking.
I do. I have Stephen
Oh,
Mitchell's.
please. Yeah.
Okay. Non-being can never be. Being can never not be. Both these statements are obvious to those who have seen the truth.
I have the Prabhupada version, and it says, those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, in parentheses, the material body, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, the soul, in parentheses, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both.
Thank you. That was helpful to me. Was that helpful to everyone?
I have one more version.
Okay,
This
bring
is
it on.
This is Swami Rama, which is the first Bhagavad Gita I was ever told to buy, which I don't really love, but that which is non-existent never comes into being. That which is existent never goes to non-being. The seers of reality have seen the very end of both of these.
Thank you. I think this is why I love chanting. At some point, I can't cope with trying to understand the meaning of the meaning of the meaning. And so I just chant it and hopefully I get its sense. Okay, let's break it down. Or are you all comfortable? How are we? Do we need it broken down? Unmute yourselves and let me know. Or
Yes.
okay. Nasato vidyate bhavo So let's put that line together. Nasato vidyate bhavo Nasato vidyate bhavo Na bhavo vidyate sataha vidyate sataha na bhavo vidyate sataha na bhavo vidyate sataha. Let's put those two lines together. I'll bring the pitch up slightly. Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha. Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha. Third line. Ubhayorapi drishtontas. Ubhayorapi drishtontas. Now I'm going to do it twice more and put the aha ending on it. Ubhayorapi drishtontaha. Ubhayorapi drishtontaha. Tvanayos. Tvanayos. Tatvadarshibihi. Tatvadarshibihi. Tvanayos tatvadarshibihi. Tvanayos tatvadarshibihi. We'll put those two lines together. Ubhayorapi drishtontaha. Tvanayos tatvadarshibihi. Ubhayorapi drishtontaha. Tvanayos tatvadarshibihi. Shall we do the entire verse? Or does anyone have, unmute yourself if you need to go over anything in particular before we do the whole verse.
I have a question. So on that,
Jean?
yes, on the last line, they Y-O-R going into the T-A-T-T, that just becomes like an S sound.
Drishtontaha. Wait, say again.
So the first word, the T-V-A-N, it ends in Y-O-R, and then it goes into the T-A-T-T, but you change it to an S sound, as in Sam. Is that what you're doing, it sounds like?
Did I type out anayos, anayor? Did I do
I
that?
have Y-O-R on mine, ending on 16. That's what it says on my handout.
Oh. All right.
Mine does not say that, Leslie, so I don't know how that happened.
Oh, I know. Okay. I made a choice. I think that's incorrect. In the book, it's incorrect. There's an R because it doesn't make sense. I mean, who am I to correct a published book? However, it should be the S. Tvanayos tatvadarshibihi. And when I look at the Devanagari, the Devanagari has an S there. Tvanayos tatvadarshibihi. So I'm with the Devanagari, which I did not put in here. So if you have an R, it should be an S.
Maybe that's an older file, but the one that was attached to this week's email is correct.
Yeah, so Jean, you might have an older version.
I
'Cause
do,
I
I just-
corrected it.
I do, and that's right. Sorry about that. I'm using
Oh,
some of
it's all good.
Yeah, and it is, he did, I think this is an error in his English letters because the Devanagari is different. It's reading, but it should be an S there. Tvanayos tatvadarshibihi. The actual word is anayoho or ani, but it has to change because of the ta. Is there any other, but thank you for bringing that up because some people may have that version. Is there any other thing to say before we rock and roll with the chanting? Shall we just go for it? Okay, we'll chant through it twice through. Okay. Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubhayorapi drishtontaha, tvanayostattvadarshibihi. Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubhayorapi drishtontaha, tvanayostattvadarshibihi. Would you care to move on to the next verse? Okay. Would someone like to read a translation? Let's do a translation first. I'll do the fastidious one first, and then if someone would like to read from their translation, they can. So here we are on verse 17. According to Sargent, so Sri Bhagavan says, know, K-N-O-W, know that by which all this universe is pervaded is indeed indestructible. No one is able to accomplish the destruction of the imperishable. Aksharam. And who has another offering?
I'll go. Stephen Mitchell. The presence that pervades the universe is imperishable, unchanging, beyond both is and is not. How could it ever vanish?
Thank you. Thank you, Patty. Does anybody else have something they'd like to share?
Sure.
Okay, Lauren.
That which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul.
Thank you. All right, shall we chant it? Okay. I will start with Om. Om. Avinashitu tadvidhi, yena sarvamidantatam, vinashamavyayasyasya, nakaschit kartumarhati. Avinashitu tadvidhi, yena sarvamidantatam, vinashamavyayasyasya, nakaschit kartumarhati. So now we'll break that down. Om Avinashitu, Avinashitu, Avinashitu tad, Avinashitu tad, tadvidhi, tadvidhi. Avinashitu tadvidhi, yena Yena sarvamidam tatam tatam. Notice the change. From idam tatam, it will be idan tatam. Tongue to the teeth. Idan tatam. Idan tatam. Yena sarvamidan tatam. Yena sarvamidan tatam. We'll put those two lines together. Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvamidan tatam. One more time. Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvamidan tatam. Bye, Elizabeth. Vinasham, vinasham, avyayas, avyayas, yasya, avyayas, yasya. Vinasham avyayas yasya. Vinasham avyayas yasya. Nakaschit kartum. Nakaschit kartumarhati. Nakaschit kartumarhati. Let's try the verse. Om Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvamidan tatam. Vinasham avyayas yasya. Nakaschit kartumarhati. How is that coming? Coming? Good. Would you like to repeat that chant or move on to the next one?
Can we do it once more?
Yes. Om Avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvamidan tatam. Vinasham avyayas yasya. Nakaschit kartumarhati. I kind of tripped along there. Let's do 16 and 17 together. So, and actually, would you like it a little slower than what we just did, or at that same pace? Or, okay, slower, thumbs up, or, yeah, slower, thumbs up. And it, oh, okay, so Harmony's saying it could be, okay, we don't need to be slower. Okay, all right, here we go. Verses 16 and 17 with an Om. Om Nasato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sataha Ubhayorapi drishtontaha tvanayostatvadarshibihi avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvamidantatam vinashamavyayasya Nakaschit kartumarhati. One more time. Nasato vidyate bhavo. Na bhavo vidyate sataha. Ubhayorapi drishtontaha. Tvanayostatvadarshibihi avinashi tu tadvidhi yena sarvamidantatam vinashamavyayasya nakaschit kartumarhati. Na kaschit kartumarhati. Accentuate the positive. The invocations. Okay, so it's after 5. So now we're going to go to our, here it is. Kshama. Ksham means to forgive. So do you all have that? Okay. We've done it in call and response. Let's see. Okay, Sandra, do you have it? Anybody not?
I couldn't see what you were holding up. You went so fast.
Ah, okay. It's on the
Is it
second
what came
page.
today?
Yeah, we it's not new. It's not new, so you probably already have it. And
Oh, okay.
it's I think it's from the file entitled June 21. I'm not no, I can't remember. But anyway, on the first page it says invocations, and on the second page is how we end the class.
Okay.
Isn't it also in your book too, Leslie, but just without that last line?
The last one is in the book, but not the first
not
part,
the first
and not
part,
the
okay.
very ending, because I didn't know it when I made that book.
Oh,
Otherwise I would have put it in. Okay, so even if you don't have it written in front of you, it's always good to hear and just do your best to chant with. So this time we'll go right through. Okay, straight through. Yadaksharapada-brashtam matrahinantu yad bhavet tatsarvam kshamyatan deva narayana namostute Shrimate Narayanaya Namo Namaha Kayena Vacha Manasendriyairva Buddhyatmanava Prakrite Swabhavat Karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai narayana yeti samarpayami sarvam shri krishnarpanamastu. Sandra, I'm seeing you on my main screen. If you can't find it, I'm going to send you another one. So we're going to try to begin and end. Oh, you do? Beg your pardon?
I have.
Okay, good. So keep that with you, and we're going to use these invocations every week if we have the time. So just be sure that you have it with you every
Okay.
Tuesday. Because we
I
will.
have it.
Okay. My internet is slow today, so I'm seeing still images. So before we sign off, is there anything anybody would like to say or like to do? We can repeat anything, do anything. Any requests? I mean, we've officially ended because we've asked for forgiveness, but the forgiveness carries on. It's ever expanding.
Thank you, Leslie.
Is that enough for today?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thank you.